Sirens screamed, tires screeched, and somewhere on a dusty southern highway in 1977, a black Trans Am tore through America's heart like nothing before. Smokey and the Bandit wasn't just a movie. It was rebellion on wheels. Behind all that laughter and smoke was chaos you'd never believe. Real police nearly arrested the crew. 4 cars were wrecked, and the studio almost killed the project before it began. Even the romance on screen spilled into real life. So, what if I told you the wildest part of Smokey and the Bandit wasn't what you saw on film, but everything that happened when the cameras stopped rolling? Back in the 1970s, Coors wasn't just a drink. It was practically contraband east of the Mississippi. Because it was unpasteurized and had no preservatives, it had to stay cold the entire time. That made long-distance shipping nearly impossible and technically illegal in many states. People were actually smuggling Coors like it was gold. Truck drivers took huge risks, sneaking it across state lines just to meet demand. So when Smokey and the Bandit came up with its beer run plot, it wasn't fiction at all. It was pulled straight out of America's most unexpected true crime story, beer smuggling. The demand for Coors was so high that politicians, celebrities, and even sports teams were known to stash cases in their cars after visiting the West. It became a symbol of rebellion, a taste of something you couldn't easily have. That forbidden thrill, the chase for a cold Coors, was exactly what made the film's story feel so real.
No way that you could come from my loins. That's an attention getter.
The craziest part is that the movie's wild idea actually started from a real incident. While transporting Coors to the film set, the crew got pulled over by police who thought they were bootlegging alcohol. The confusion was so absurd it became the perfect movie plot. The director and writers turned that bizarre encounter into a full-blown story about outlaw truckers outrunning the law. What began as a frustrating traffic stop quickly evolved into one of Hollywood's funniest and most rebellious films, a comedy born from a real smuggling misunderstanding that no one could have made up. The moment became legendary among the crew because it captured everything the movie would later stand for: speed, rebellion, and pure Southern charm. They realized real life had already written the perfect script. It was proof that truth really can be stranger than fiction, and that a random police stop could spark one of the most iconic road comedies in film history. During one of the chase scenes, things got a little too real. The crew was filming cars speeding down a highway when an actual police officer drove by. Thinking he'd stumbled upon an illegal street race, he flipped on his sirens and stormed straight into the middle of the chute. For a few tense moments, chaos broke out. Drivers froze, engines stalled, and the officer was furious. It took the director and his assistants several minutes to calm him down and prove it was just a movie. Everyone laughed about it later, but in that moment, jail felt way too close. The officer reportedly demanded to see permits and even threatened to impound the cars. Crew members were panicking, thinking the entire production might be shut down. Once he realized what was happening, the officer cracked a smile and even stayed to watch the scene. That day became one of those unforgettable Hollywood stories that still gets retold by stunt crews decades later.
I'll never forget there was a scene where the girl that doubles Sally, she was a sweetheart of one of the stunt guys, and she was very capable of.
In 1977, Burt Reynolds was Hollywood's ultimate superstar, confident, charming, and worth every penny. His paycheck for Smokey and the Bandit was over $1 million, which swallowed nearly 25% of the entire $5.3 million budget. That didn't sit well with Universal executives, who later tried cutting the budget mid-production. But Burt stood his ground and warned them, "If I leave, this movie's dead." He knew the film depended on his star power. That bold confidence not only saved the project, but turned it into one of the biggest box office hits of the decade. Reynolds truly carried it all. What's even more impressive is that Burt didn't act like a diva on set despite his massive salary. He showed up every day, joking with the crew and pushing everyone to give their best. He believed in the story when few others did. His effortless charisma turned a low-budget Southern comedy into a cultural phenomenon. Without him, Smokey and the Bandit might have ended up as just another forgotten car chase movie. Instead, it became a blockbuster, and Burt became the face of 1970s cool.
What about all the nutty stunts in cars? You ever had a really far-out car run?
Oh, yeah. First of all, see, I love cars.
What made Smokey and the Bandit feel so raw and thrilling was that nothing on screen was fake. No CGI, no green screens. Every crash, skid, and near miss actually happened in real life. The production used 4 brand new Pontiac Trans Ams, and every single one was destroyed by the end of filming. Those heart-pounding chase scenes, the flying dirt, the roaring engines, it was pure adrenaline caught on film. The crew didn't just create action, they lived it, with real danger and real damage. That's why every moment still feels alive decades later. It wasn't staged, it was survival. Each jump, spin, and collision was carefully choreographed but always risky. Some stunts went wrong, forcing the team to improvise and rebuild cars overnight just to stay on schedule. The smell of burnt rubber filled the air daily, and the stunt drivers earned every ounce of respect.
White Lightning, there's a scene where Burt Reynolds' character being doubled by Hal Needham is trying to escape police officers when he sees a...
Burt Reynolds wasn't content with just looking cool behind the wheel. He wanted to be the Bandit. The studio begged him to use a stunt double, but Burt insisted on doing many of the high-speed stunts himself. He raced through tight turns, hit jumps, and pushed the Trans Am to its limits, all while flashing that famous grin. His dedication added a layer of authenticity no stuntman could match. You can feel his confidence in every chase scene because it was real. He was actually there, behind the wheel, living the danger that made Smokey and the Bandit unforgettable. What made this even riskier was that the cars themselves were barely holding together after repeated stunts. Yet Burt didn't back off. He'd drive until smoke poured from the engine, dust filling the air, and then step out laughing. His willingness to risk his own safety became legendary among the crew. Everyone said the same thing. He wasn't acting fearless, he was fearless. That commitment, mixed with his charm, made every stunt more thrilling because you knew it wasn't a trick. It was Burt Reynolds, defying both Hollywood rules and gravity. What made Smokey and the Bandit feel so alive wasn't just the car chases. It was the chemistry between Burt Reynolds and Sally Field, and that spark was real. They fell in love during filming, shared a trailer, and couldn't stay away from each other. Sally later revealed in her memoir In Pieces that Burt was relentless in his affection, calling her 10 times a day and even driving across states just to see her. Their relationship lasted for years and gave the movie its genuine warmth. You can feel their connection in every laugh, glance, and teasing line on screen. Behind the scenes, their romance became the heart of the production. Crew members would often joke that you could tell when they'd just argued because their on-screen banter became even more electric. Burt adored her energy, calling her his spark plug, while Sally said he made her feel seen in a way no one else ever had. Their love story became as talked about as the movie itself, and though it didn't last forever, its magic lives on in every frame. Their real emotions turned a fun action movie into something unexpectedly heartfelt.
There's no way that you could come from my loins.
Jackie Gleason, who played the outrageous Sheriff Buford T. Justice, didn't just read from a script, he threw it out completely. About 75% of his lines were improvised, made up in the moment. His quick wit and wild humor brought the sheriff to life in ways no writer could plan. That famous line, "There ain't no way that you came from my loins," was entirely Gleason's creation and even made Burt Reynolds break character laughing. His spontaneous energy made every scene unpredictable, turning a supporting role into one of cinema's most unforgettable comedic performances. What made Gleason's improv so brilliant was that he never planned it. He just reacted naturally to every situation. Sometimes, even the camera crew couldn't keep a straight face. Believe it or not, Sally Field almost never got the part. Studio executives dismissed her, saying she wasn't sexy enough to play a Southern leading lady. They wanted someone flashier. But Burt Reynolds saw something special: her charm, her humor, her natural appeal, and he refused to back down. He told the studio he wouldn't do the movie without her. His determination paid off because Sally ended up stealing hearts and giving the film its emotional core. Her grounded performance balanced all the chaos around her, proving that authenticity can outshine glamour every single time. What's even more impressive is that Sally didn't come from a background of big comedies or action movies. She was known for sweet, dramatic roles. But she brought something different to Smokey and the Bandit: warmth, wit, and relatability. On set, she impressed everyone with her professionalism and playful sense of humor. She wasn't just the love interest, she became the glue that held the story together. Sally's casting wasn't just a win for Burt, it was a win for the entire movie. Jerry Reed's role in Smokey and the Bandit almost never happened. Every other actor who was approached turned it down, and with filming about to start, the crew was in full panic mode. That's when Burt Reynolds personally called country singer Jerry Reed, begging him to take the part. Reed showed up the very next day, guitar in hand, and instantly became the heart of the movie. He not only played the lovable trucker Snowman, but also wrote and performed the film's anthem, Eastbound and Down, right on set. It wasn't planned, it was pure, last-minute magic. What made Reed's presence so special was that he brought an authentic Southern soul to the film. His easygoing humor, warmth, and natural rhythm gave Smokey and the Bandit its musical heartbeat. Between takes, Reed would strum his guitar and improvise tunes that lifted everyone's mood. Even Burt admitted that the film wouldn't have had the same spirit without him. He didn't just act, he lived the role, embodying the carefree trucker with heart and humor. His performance wasn't rehearsed, it was real, just like the man himself.
My head, you son. Mercy sakes, you put about 8.5 on me. Blowing the windows down, bring it on.
Fred, the lazy but lovable Basset Hound, was never meant to be a polished movie dog. He didn't follow commands, ignored cues, and often wandered off during takes. But that's exactly why Burt Reynolds chose him. Fred's carefree attitude perfectly matched Snowman's easygoing vibe. Sometimes he'd just stare blankly or fall asleep in the middle of a shot, and everyone would burst out laughing. Instead of reshooting, the director kept those moments in because they felt real. Fred's unpredictability gave the movie charm, and somehow the untrained dog ended up stealing every scene he was in. The crew quickly learned to work around his stubbornness rather than against it. If Fred decided to nap in the middle of filming, they'd simply change the camera angle or rewrite the scene. His natural laziness became part of the comedy. Fans adored him for being genuine. He wasn't acting, he was just being Fred. Sheriff Buford T. Justice might seem like pure comedy genius, but his character came straight from real life. Burt Reynolds' father, a former police chief in Florida, once knew a highway patrolman with the same booming voice, fiery temper, and larger-than-life personality. Jackie Gleason took that story and ran with it. To make Buford feel authentic, he observed real Southern sheriffs, their accent, body language, and swagger. What came out was a mix of truth and exaggeration, a character who felt both hilarious and real. Buford wasn't just acting, he was a living tribute to the loudest lawman in the South. Gleason even brought his own flair to the role, creating a perfect balance between menace and comedy. He'd stomp his boots, yell at his deputy son, and curse in ways that only he could make sound funny. His portrayal struck a chord because audiences recognized that kind of Southern lawman, tough, loud, proud, and oddly lovable. It wasn't parody. It was pure personality drawn straight from the American South. The legendary black Trans Am wasn't just a prop, it was a casualty of cinematic greatness. Pontiac provided 4 brand new Trans Ams for filming, but by the end, none survived. Each high-speed chase and jaw-dropping jump left another car battered beyond repair. The crew became experts at patching things up with spare parts, paint, and even duct tape just to keep shooting. By the final scene, they were running on luck and fumes. Every wrecked Trans Am earned its place in movie history, sacrificing itself to make Smokey and the Bandit one of the most thrilling chase films ever made. The damage was so extensive that the team often used one car's parts to revive another. After the movie's release, Pontiac couldn't believe how much attention the Trans Am got. It became a pop culture icon. Those 4 doomed cars helped build a legend that outlived them all, turning the vehicle into a symbol of speed, rebellion, and cinematic daring. Universal Pictures didn't believe in Smokey and the Bandit at all. Executives thought it was too Southern and would flop outside small-town America. They even slashed the budget halfway through filming, assuming it wasn't worth finishing. But when the movie hit theaters, it exploded, earning over $120 million and becoming the second highest grossing film of 1977, right behind Star Wars. Audiences couldn't get enough of its humor, speed, and rebellious charm. The same studio that doubted it was suddenly begging for sequels. It was the ultimate underdog victory, a low-budget comedy that outran everyone's expectations. Few people know that Smokey and the Bandit almost ended on a completely different note. The original script had Bandit getting caught by the police, a somber, heavy ending that stripped away all the fun and rebellion that defined the movie. When the cast and crew read it, they instantly knew it didn't fit the film's spirit. Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, and the director agreed that the audience needed laughter, not regret. They rewrote the final scene to end with Bandit and Snowman laughing their way into another adventure, turning what could have been depressing into a legend of freedom and joy. When Smokey and the Bandit hit theaters, critics tore it apart. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars and called it forgettable. Others labeled it lowbrow and mindless fun. But that's exactly what audiences loved about it. People filled theaters, cheered during the chases, and turned it into a cultural phenomenon. The soundtrack sold millions, and the movie's charm spread across America like wildfire. It became clear that critics missed the point. This wasn't a film for them. It was for everyone who loved a good laugh, fast cars, and sticking it to authority fans made it timeless. The black and gold Trans Am wasn't just a car, it became a dream. After Smokey and the Bandit premiered, Pontiac dealerships were flooded with buyers wanting to be the Bandit. Sales soared from 27,000 to over 117,000 in just 2 years, setting records no one saw coming. People wore cowboy hats, played the soundtrack, and sped down highways pretending to outrun Smokey. The car became a symbol of cool, rebellion, and Southern pride. Pontiac didn't just owe the movie thanks, they owed it their best sales year ever. Bandit turned the Trans Am into pure American legend. You wouldn't expect the master of suspense to adore a Southern road comedy, but he did. Alfred Hitchcock, yes, the director behind Psycho and Vertigo, was reportedly a huge fan of Smokey, and the Bandit crew members revealed that Hitchcock watched it multiple times and even called it a perfect piece of American cinema. He admired its pacing, humor, and effortless storytelling. For a filmmaker known for precision and tension, to praise a movie built on chaos and laughter says everything. If Hitchcock, the genius of thrillers, saw brilliance in Bandit's wild charm, that's proof it was something truly special. When Smokey and the Bandit was prepared for TV broadcast, one big problem popped up. Jackie Gleason's swearing. His hilarious but colorful language was too much for family audiences. Instead of cutting him out, Warner Brothers made a bizarre but brilliant choice. They brought in Mel Blanc, the voice behind Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, to re-record his dialogue. The result was hilarious. Sheriff Buford T. Justice suddenly sounded like a cartoon villain chasing the Bandit through Saturday morning television. Most viewers had no idea, but that quirky edit turned a tough-talking cop into an accidental Looney Tune legend. The madness of Smokey and the Bandit didn't just happen on screen, it consumed the entire production between real police chases, wrecked cars, love stories, and endless improvisation. The set was pure mayhem. Nothing went perfectly, and that's exactly why it worked. Everyone from Burt Reynolds to the stunt team poured real energy into every scene. It wasn't polished Hollywood, it was messy, unpredictable, and full of heart. The chaos behind the camera became part of its soul. Maybe that's why decades later, Smokey and the Bandit still feels alive, because it was made by people who lived it, not just filmed it. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.